The bailiff called the case like he was reading a grocery list, and my sister stood up before the last syllable landed, not because she was eager to honor my grandfather, but because she was eager to claim him. She wore a tailored cream coat over black, the kind of quiet luxury that makes people assume you're right before you even speak. Her hair was perfect, her face was dry, and when she looked at me, it wasn't grief in her eyes, it was calculation. Her attorney, slick suit, soft voice, expensive watch, walked to the counsel table with a thin stack of papers and slid them forward like a blade. "Your Honor," he said, "we're moving for immediate transfer of the estate to my client effective today." My parents nodded in unison behind him, like they had practiced it in the mirror. My mother's hands were folded solemn, as if she was in church, and my father stared straight ahead, jaw set, like this was a business meeting and I was the obstacle. The judge didn't look at them at first. He looked at me. "Ms. Vale," he said, voice flat, "do you object?" My sister's lips twitched like she couldn't wait to hear me beg. I didn't. I sat up straighter, placed my hands on the table, and made sure my voice didn't shake. "Yes," I said, "I object." Her attorney smiled, faint and patronizing. "On what grounds?" I didn't give him an argument, not yet. "I want to wait until the last person arrives," I said. The judge blinked once. "The last person?" he repeated. I nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." My sister let out a small laugh that wasn't humor. "This is ridiculous," she said. "There is no one else." My father finally turned his head slightly toward me, the way he used to when I was a teenager, and he wanted to remind me I was embarrassing the family. "You always do this," he muttered, just loud enough. The judge leaned back and adjusted his glasses. "Ms. Vale," he said, "this is probate court, not a stage. If you have an objection, it needs to be legal." "It is legal," I said, calmly, "but it isn't mine to explain." My sister's attorney stepped closer, voice smooth. "Your Honor, we're requesting emergency appointment because Ms. Vale has been uncooperative. There are assets that need protection, and my client is the responsible party." Responsible. That word was always used like a weapon in my family. It meant give us control and stop asking questions. My mother sighed softly, as if she was suffering from my immaturity. "She's grieving," she said to the judge. "She doesn't understand how these things work." My sister's eyes stayed on me, bright and cold. "I'm just trying to keep everything from falling apart. Grandpa would want it handled properly." I stared at her and thought about how quickly she'd found a lawyer, how fast the petition had appeared, how rehearsed my parents looked sitting behind her like backup singers. The judge turned a page in the case file. "This petition requests full authority over the estate. It alleges the respondent is unfit to participate and may interfere." My sister's attorney nodded. "Correct. And you're asking me to grant that today?" the judge said. "Yes, Your Honor, effective immediately." The judge looked at me again. "Ms. Vale, what is your objection?" I kept my posture still. "My objection is that they're asking you to act without the full record," I said. My sister laughed again, sharper this time. "There is no hidden record," she snapped. "He's dead. This is what happens." The judge's expression didn't change, but his patience thinned. "Ms. Vale," he said to my sister, "you will not speak out of turn." My father's lips pressed tighter. My mother's eyes narrowed like she hated being corrected. My sister's attorney tried to salvage the moment with politeness. "Your Honor, if Ms. Vale wants to delay, we object. The estate can't wait." I didn't look at him. I looked at the judge. "It won't be a delay. It'll be minutes." The judge exhaled once and glanced toward the courtroom doors, clearly deciding whether to entertain me. "Who are we waiting for?" he asked. I answered with the simplest truth I could say out loud: the person who actually controls the inheritance. My sister's face tightened for the first time. "That's me," she said automatically, and then caught herself when the judge's eyes flicked her way. The judge leaned forward slightly. "Ms. Vale," he said, "if this is a tactic—" "It isn't," I replied. "I'm asking you to let the record arrive before you sign anything." A beat of silence. Then the courtroom doors opened. Not a dramatic swing, just a clean, controlled push, like someone with purpose. A man stepped inside wearing a black suit so plain it looked like a uniform. No flashy tie, no jewelry, just an envelope in his hand and a calm expression like he didn't care who in this room had money. He walked straight to the clerk's desk without looking at my parents or my sister. He held up the envelope, spoke clearly, and said my name. "Ms. Vale?" The judge blinked once, reached for his glasses again, and watched the envelope like it didn't belong in his courtroom. The man in the black suit didn't raise his voice. He didn't explain himself. He simply placed the envelope on the clerk's desk with one hand and said, "This is for the court from the trustee." The judge took the envelope, read the sender line, and his mouth moved as if he'd spoken before he meant to. "That can't be," he whispered. He didn't open the envelope like it was routine mail. He held it between two fingers, turned it once, and looked at the return address again as if the ink might change if he stared hard enough. Then he tore it open. No flourish, just a clean rip, like he wanted the paper to stop pretending it mattered more than what was inside. The courtroom stayed so quiet I could hear my sister's attorney shift his weight. The judge pulled a single folded document out first. Thick stock, embossed seal in the corner, a signature block that looked too formal for the way my family had been treating this like a family meeting. He scanned the top line. His jaw tightened. Then he read the sender out loud. "Hawthorne National Bank Trust Department." My sister's face flickered just for a second before she rebuilt her composure. She'd built her whole life on being the person who handled money. Hearing a bank named in open court should have made her look powerful. Instead, it made her look caught. The judge kept reading. "This is a notice of trust administration. It states the decedent's assets were placed into a revocable trust and that the trust became irrevocable upon death." My sister's attorney stood quickly. "Your Honor, we're in probate." The judge didn't even look up. "Sit down." He turned one page. "And this," he added, voice flatter, "is a certificate of trust identifying the trustee." He paused again like the next line offended his sense of how lawsuits are supposed to work. Then he read it. "Successor trustee, Hawthorne National Bank Trust Department." My parents stiffened because they were aiming for control. A bank doesn't care about control the way families do. A bank cares about documents, conditions, and risk. My sister's attorney tried to recover with confidence. "Your Honor, even if there is a trust, probate still has jurisdiction over the estate." The judge finally looked up. "Counsel, your motion requested all of the inheritance effective immediately." He tapped the paper once with his finger. "This trust certification states in plain language that the probate estate is minimal and the bulk of assets are held in trust." He turned to the clerk. "Mark this as received." Then he looked at my sister, not as a sister, not as family, but like a petitioner who had just tried to take something she didn't control. "Ms. Vale, did you know your grandfather established a trust with a corporate trustee?" My sister lifted her chin. "He was influenced," she said. "He didn't understand what he was signing." The judge didn't argue with her feelings. He held up the next page. "This notice includes a copy of the trust's execution affidavit and the list of witnesses. It also includes an attorney certification that the decedent signed with full capacity." My father's mouth tightened. My mother's eyes narrowed like she was trying to choose a new angle. And then the judge hit the line that made him whisper, "That can't be," in the first place. He read it slowly so no one could later claim they misunderstood. "No contest clause triggered. Any beneficiary who petitions to seize trust assets contrary to terms forfeits their distribution." My sister's attorney's face drained. My sister's eyes widened a fraction, then narrowed like she was trying to bully the paper into backing down. My mother's hands unclasped for the first time. The judge looked up. "Counsel," he said to my sister's attorney, "you filed a motion for immediate transfer of all inheritance to your client." "Yes, Your Honor," the attorney said carefully. "You understand that if this clause is enforceable, the act of filing your motion may have already caused forfeiture?" The attorney swallowed. "Your Honor, we dispute the validity." The judge cut him off. "You can dispute it, but you don't get to pretend it isn't there." Then he looked at me again. "Ms. Vale, you asked to wait for the last person to arrive. Was this the person?" I answered with the simplest truth I could say out loud. "The trust department is the trustee. They control distribution."